Imagine this scenario. The President of the United States is lost in the wilderness of a foreign country, hunted by armed men, and his only hope for survival is a courageous local boy. The story begins in the rural mountainous region of Finland. 13-year-old Oskari and his father, Tapio, belong to a long lineage of Finnish deer hunters, in which they take great pride. They have a look at the wall covered with photos of famous hunters. Among them, Oskari finds a picture of his father when he was the same age Oskari is now. Oskari is about to embark on his first hunt, and Tapio urges him to cast aside his doubts. Tapio promises that Oskari will have his own picture on the wall when he goes through with it. The father goes ahead, but Oskari asks to stay a bit longer, captivated by the photos. He takes his father's picture from the wall for a closer look. Amidst the stunning Scandinavian mountain scenery, Tapio and Oskari travel to the hunting grounds in a convoy of off-road vehicles. Oskari listens to a tape narrated by an enchanting British voice, which provides detailed instructions on how to hunt deer. Following the tape's guidance, Oskari attempts to imitate a deer's call. His father remarks that it's not very convincing. Tapio hands Oskari a map with a red cross on it, indicating a location where the boy is certain to find deer. Tapio advises his son that the best way to hunt deer is at dawn, moving against the wind so that it doesn't carry the scent to the animal, striking at the moment the sun rises, as the deer will be blinded by the light. Oskari promises to do his best. The hunters set up camp and begin their preparations, checking their vehicles, gear, and provisions. One of the hunters fires a symbolic gunshot, signaling the official start of the hunt. Oskari climbs onto a quad bike with a trailer and tries to start the engine, but it doesn't work. His father points out that he forgot to open the fuel valve. He wishes Oskari good luck and sends him on his way. The hunters and his father watch as Oskari drives the quad bike toward a ceremonial altar decorated with deer skulls. He picks up a traditional bow, which he will use for the hunt. Tradition dictates that a hunter must be strong enough to draw the bowstring. Oskari enjoys the feel of the weapon but lacks the sufficient strength to pull the string back. When he gives up, his father gets angry with him, feeling humiliated in front of the other hunters. The elder hunter wants to send the boy home, claiming he's not ready. Despite Oskari's failure, Tapio insists that his son will succeed nonetheless, so the elder hunter reluctantly agrees to let him continue. The elder hunter delivers a passionate speech about the sacred journey Oskari is about to take, a journey of continuing the traditions of his ancestors that will make him a real man in the eyes of his people. Oskari drives his quad bike and trailer into the forest, preparing for the challenges ahead. Meanwhile, Air Force One, a plane carrying the President of the United States and his staff, is flying toward Helsinki, which is the capital of Finland, for a conference the President is supposed to attend. Morris is one of the Secret Service agents serving on board Air Force One. He has a scar from a bullet he took while protecting the President. Morris struggles to put on his heavy bulletproof suit. He takes some medications, bitter about his injury. He meticulously prepares himself to look presentable to the President and the senators. The President, William Allen Moore, complains to Morris about his falling poll numbers and thanks him again for saving his life. Morris seems resentful about the early retirement the President forces him to take, so William apologizes for having to do it. In the forest, Oskari practices for his hunt using a deer mock-up. He carefully approaches it, making as little noise as possible. He tries to draw the bowstring as hard as he can, but still can't fire the arrow properly. Not giving up, he moves closer and tries again. The arrow hits the target, so Oskari cheers up. Meanwhile, somewhere in Lapland, a rented safari helicopter flies over the forest. A group of suspicious-looking men from the Middle East, who claim to be on a hunting trip, order the Finnish pilot to land in the forest. He reluctantly complies. The pilot becomes suspicious when the group unloads a large container and a scope. The leader of the group, Hazar, a confident, charismatic character, in the most calm manner reveals to the pilot that the scope is a targeting system for the missile inside the container, which he plans to use to shoot down a plane. The pilot is terrified. Hazar orders him to run. He then ruthlessly uses the targeting system to lock onto the poor man and fires the rocket. All that just to test the weapon. You've gotta love how in all these movies, the main villain always has to do something like this, just to show the audience how evil he really is. On the plane, the pilots inform Morris that they are beginning their descent, as they are now only 45 miles from Helsinki. Suddenly, control operators receive an automated alert that the plane is being targeted by a self-guided missile. They attempt to deploy countermeasures, but someone is jamming them, and the plane loses power. Seeing this, Morris addresses the crew and initiates an emergency evacuation. Secret Service agents quickly escort the President to the lower part of the plane, where he is placed in a high-tech, state-of-the-art escape pod. The pod is ejected into mid-air and begins its descent with parachutes. Secret Service agents grab parachutes and jump out to secure the president on the ground. But something is wrong. Their parachutes don't open. When one of the men points this out, Morris shoots him. At this moment, it becomes perfectly clear that Morris is a traitor who has been working with the attackers all along. He secures his own parachute and jumps out. As he falls, he watches the missiles as they fly past him, hitting Air Force One and its escorting jets and turning the sky into a massive fireball. In the forest, Oskari is riding his quad bike when he suddenly stops. He hears strange noises and looks behind him. A bright, shining light is approaching. Oskari gets off his bike and runs to get a better look. He hears the roar of powerful jet engines and watches the shot-down Air Force One crash land directly in front of him. Fortunately, Oskari manages to avoid being hit by the debris from the exploding aircraft. He falls to the ground and screams in terror until the horrifying noises stop. Oskari gets up and has a look at the trees ravaged by the crash landing. Meanwhile, at the Pentagon, Fred Herbert, the longest-serving CIA field operative, is introduced to the vice president and several generals. Together, they must figure out what happened in Finland and secure the president as quickly as possible. Based on the available information, Herbert immediately deduces that the president's plane and its escort jets were attacked by shoulder-mounted anti-aircraft missiles fired from the forest. He also realizes that there was a man on the inside who disabled the standard countermeasures that would disrupt the lock on the missiles. Morris lands in the forest, unstraps his parachute, takes some medication, and uses his radio to call the other Secret Service agents to confirm that they didn't survive. No one answers, so he proceeds. He then contacts Hazar's team and informs them that the plane is down. Meanwhile, Oskari finds the president's pod and cautiously approaches it with his bow at the ready. He throws a rock at it before getting closer. Oskari knocks on the metal and hears a knock in return from inside. The president writes a door combination on the misty window, 1492. Oskari opens a panel and enters the code. Frightened by the loud noise of the pod door opening, he runs away. William emerges from the pod, ignoring an automated alert to stay inside and wait for rescue. He fires a flare and asks his saviors to reveal themselves. Frightened, Oskari hesitates. He shoots an arrow with a string attached to a tin can and speaks to William through it. The president doesn't understand his language, so the boy starts speaking in English. Because of the futuristic pod, Oskari thinks that William is an alien. He assures the boy that he's not and asks him to show himself. Oskari comes out. William is alarmed by the bow he's pointing at him. Oskari asks who he is. Surprised by his ignorance, William reveals that he is the President of the United States. Still suspicious, Oskari keeps the bow aimed at him, so William gives him his passport to prove that he's telling the truth. By the way, how come in all these movies, random people in foreign countries just happen to speak perfect fluent English? It doesn't make any sense. William asks Oskari to get him to a phone in the nearest town, but they are deep in the wilderness. At the Pentagon, the vice president is informed by a general that the location of the president's escape pod has been confirmed and rescue helicopters are on the way. Meanwhile, near a farmhouse somewhere in Norway, a local farmer notices something unusual in his yard. He approaches his trampoline and finds an object that has fallen straight through it. It's a beacon. The very same homing beacon that was supposed to be on the president's escape pod. The American rescue helicopters arrive at the farm only to find no sign of the pod. The escape pod and the beacon must have separated during the fall. The vice president and the generals are quite disappointed. The vice president reprimands the general and orders him to find the president by any means necessary. Herbert speculates that the group responsible for the attack must have their own agenda and are not affiliated with well-known organizations. He believes they intended to capture the president, not to assassinate him. Morris is joined by Hazar and his henchmen. They find the escape pod and rush to open it, but to their astonishment, it's empty. Oskari and William walk through the forest. The boy brags about his hunting skills. William, being perceptive, questions his story. They get to know each other. The president asks Oskari to call him Bill. Oskari tells Bill about his father and their hunting traditions. Bill wants to drive his vehicle to the nearest town, but Oskari won't allow it, saying he has a mission to accomplish. He also points out that the forest is vast, and he knows it well, while Bill does not. Bill reluctantly agrees to ride in the trailer while the boy drives. Oskari gives him a blanket and says, "Welcome to Finland." They drive up the mountain. From small footprints, Morris deduces that a child helped the president escape. Hazar covertly signals his henchmen to eliminate Morris, but Morris quickly shoots them first and warns Hazar not to try it again. He tells Hazar about the bullet 2 millimeters from his heart that will one day end his life. He has a deep hatred for the president because of it. He says they will work together, and Hazar will either pay him the money or pay with his life. Impressed by Morris's boldness, Hazar agrees. They have until dawn before the Americans find the president. Herbert deduces that the attackers used a safari retreat as a cover to bring weapons into the country. He instructs his colleagues to follow this lead and examine satellite images of the area. Bill and Oskari arrive at the spot marked by the red cross on the map. This is the perfect hunting spot his father told him about, where he's sure to find a deer. They set up camp, start a fire, and eat grilled sausages. They have a pleasant chat about what it's like to be powerful and about hunting. Oskari tells Bill that his father is a famous hunter, and that he has now reached the age to prove he can be a hunter too. Bill tells the boy a funny story about how he wet himself before a speech and had to cover his pants with his notes. The point is, he didn't flinch, his voice didn't crack, he commanded the room, so no one noticed the embarrassing detail. That's true power. The sun rises, casting light over the beautiful mountain and forest landscape. In the morning, Bill is awakened by Oskari, making an unsettling deer sound. The boy prepares for the hunt, as the conditions are exactly as his father described earlier. Oskari finds a shoe. It's exactly the same kind of shoes that Bill wears. Oskari continues imitating the deer. The sounds attract the attention of Morris and Hazar, who proceed to capture the president and the boy. Oskari finds a freezer connected to a generator. Inside, he finds a deer's head and a note from his dad that says, "Happy birthday." He is disappointed that his father assumed he wouldn't succeed on his own. Meanwhile, Bill is climbing through the rocks and finds the bodies of 3 Secret Service agents. Upon inspecting their parachutes, he realizes that someone sabotaged them with cable ties, preventing them from opening. Bill finds a gun and watches Morris and Hazar approaching their position, so he hides. He is utterly disappointed by Morris's betrayal. They inspect the campfire and call in a helicopter to sweep the mountain and find the president. Oskari is sad. He tells Bill about the note and his father's lack of faith in him. Bill cheers him up and pins a badge on him for rescuing and protecting the president. He tells the boy about the men hunting them and advises him to run away to save himself. Oskari refuses to leave, promising to protect Bill. He spots Morris approaching. Morris is impressed with their earlier escape. Bill asks him to leave the boy out of it and let him go. Oskari aims his bow at Morris and refuses to leave. Morris tries to scare him off. Oskari fires an arrow, but it falls well short of Morris. Bill tries to shoot Morris with his gun, but can't because he forgot to take the safety off. Morris empties the magazine and confronts Bill. They begin fighting, and Bill is beaten badly. Following Bill's advice, Oskari runs away. Meanwhile, at the Pentagon, Herbert and his colleagues manage to find the safari helicopter through a live satellite feed. They zoom in on the mountain and find the president. Seeing the footage, Herbert identifies Hazar as the illegitimate son of one of the richest oil sheikhs. He's not political, but he is a psychopath. Hazar orders his henchmen to put Bill in the freezer. Oskari watches from a distance. Bill resists at first, but reluctantly gets inside. Inspired by the picture of his father when he was 13, Oskari gathers his resolve, realizing he's the only one who can save the president. He watches the helicopter take off and delivers a passionate speech about the forest and the hunt. Oskari jumps off the cliff and grabs onto the freezer at the last possible moment, narrowly falling to oblivion. He opens the freezer and cheers up Bill as he was ready to give up. The helicopter pilot spots Oskari on the freezer. Hazar orders him to descend into the trees so that the branches can knock off the annoying kid messing with their plans. Oskari is knocked off the freezer. He tells Bill to jump, but Bill is too afraid because they're still too high. Morris opens fire on the boy. Despite the machine gun fire, Oskari chases the freezer and grabs onto it again. He cuts the rope and the freezer falls. Oskari gets to the freezer and opens the lid. Bill is fine. He's amazed that he survived the fall. Oskari tells him they have to be tough to survive this ordeal. Morris spots the freezer and opens fire. Oskari quickly gets inside the freezer for protection. He then pushes the freezer to make it roll down the hill as Morris gets out of the helicopter and watches it roll away. Pentagon officials watch these events through the satellite feed, perplexed by the absurdity of what's happening. The freezer continues to roll until it falls into a river. The river carries the freezer downstream. The helicopter follows them. They finally stop and open the lid of the freezer, only to find themselves in the middle of a lake, right near the wreckage of Air Force One. In the Pentagon, the vice president becomes suspicious when Herbert starts texting someone. It turns out Herbert has been working with Hazar all along. He sends a message to Hazar to eliminate the president instead of taking him alive. The helicopter catches up with Bill and Oskari, so they dive into the water and head toward the plane wreckage. They get inside the plane and swim into the control room, which, surprisingly, still has working computers and lights. Bill says they'll be safe now and just have to wait for the army. They are alarmed by loud noises from above. Suddenly, the roof explodes. Bill and Oskari are blown away by the shockwave. Hazar gets inside the plane through the hole in the roof. He activates a bomb with a 6-minute timer. Hazar admits to Bill that he has been working with rogue elements in the US government who wanted to make it look like the president was abducted and executed in the Middle East. All of this was to secure their unlimited federal funding. In an unlikely twist, Morris cuts the rope, leaving Hazar to perish along with Bill and the boy when the bomb explodes. Hazar approaches Bill and tries to attack him with a knife. Bill fights back and they struggle. Hazar starts strangling Bill but is interrupted by Oskari, who hits him with a fire extinguisher. Hazar then tries to shoot the boy, but he forgot to take the safety off, just like Bill did earlier. Bill kicks him, making him lose the gun. Bill grabs the weapon and shoots Hazar, emptying the entire magazine into him, leaving him no chance of survival. Hearing gunshots, Morris starts shooting through the roof. Bill realizes swimming out is not an option, as Morris will shoot them in the water. So, he comes up with an ingenious plan to use the ejecting pilot seats to escape the plane. They press eject and go up fast as Morris watches them, surprised by the unlikely turn of events. The seat parachutes deploy, and they slowly descend toward the ground. Oskari aims his bow at Morris and shoots an arrow, hitting him in the chest. But he's wearing a bulletproof suit, so it doesn't affect him at first. However, the impact of the arrow moves the bullet lodged near Morris's heart, and it enters his heart, causing his demise. As he falls, he accidentally shoots the helicopter pilot. Bill and Oskari watch in confusion. The bomb on the plane detonates, and the massive explosion blows away Bill's and Oskari's seats. Meanwhile, at the deer hunter camp, Tapio and the elder hunter sit in a car and observe a strange occurrence. Fish are falling from the sky, having been blown out of the lake by the explosion. Someone knocks on the door. It's the United States Navy SEALs. They round up the hunters, suspecting they might be connected to the plot to kidnap the president. At the Pentagon, officials assume there's no way Bill and the boy could have survived, so the vice president is formally sworn in. The Navy SEALs receive orders to retrieve the president's body. They suddenly see the parachutes with the seats descending nearby. To the astonishment of the SEALs and Oskari's father, the boy emerges alive, with the president right behind him. Tapio runs to them, surprised to see his son with the President of the United States. Oskari introduces them and explains what happened. Bill tells Tapio that his son is the bravest man he has ever met. Tapio is proud, and they shake hands, symbolizing their mutual love and respect. The hunters recognize Bill as the President of the United States from a newspaper. In the Pentagon, everyone is happy to hear that the president is alive, but Herbert is not. He leaves the room. The vice president follows him into the restroom. In an unlikely twist, it turns out the vice president was also in on the plot to assassinate the president in order to take his post. Hazar was a CIA agent ordered by them to stage the whole thing. Fearing the consequences if this information gets out, Herbert eliminates the vice president, leaving no one else alive who knew about the plot. He makes it look like an accident by putting liquid soap on the vice president's shoes and on the floor. Oskari and Bill take an epic photo together, standing in a heroic pose as army helicopters fly around them. This photo, printed in the news, is framed and displayed on the Wall of Great Hunters, a testament to Oskari's incredible act of heroism. He is now a hunter, a legend. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more.